In this episode of Beyond the Pit, we're going to take a look at slicers. Now this may not be something most people are going to want to have if you're doing more cooking, and especially if you're getting out there on your pits and barbecues. You never really thought about having a slicer. Maybe you should, because there's a lot of things you can do out on your cookers that a slicer would be handy for on the inside. For example, we have slicer because of bacon, for example. We make a lot of our own bacon out of bellies. So hand cutting that much is a lot of work and it's really uneven. So when I'm doing about 50 pounds of bacon, like we are today, I want a good slicer so I can get nice, even slices. Another example would be if you want to make cheesesteaks, for example. We'll take ribeyes and we'll freeze them, not solid, but we'll freeze them up, firm them up a little bit, and then get nice thin shavings on a slicer. Just something you can't do as nice with a hand slicer. We'll use an electric slicer. Other things you might want to do, we have fresh hams, for example. Who's to say we don't take one of our ham roast, slow cook it, slice it up on our slicer. Now we've got our own fresh deli meat. So there's all kinds of things you can do with slicers, and for us, it's definitely an appliance we wanted to have in the house. Now, we've had a slicer from LEM, L-E-M, for several years, and we're about to upgrade. We're going to show you that slicer, and then we're going to show you what our new slicer is that we're starting with today. So here we have our slicer that we've been using for a few years. This is the LEM 7-inch slicer. I can't even tell you how much this thing costs. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can buy this at places like your sporting goods stores and that kind of thing. This slicer was okay in the beginning. Actually, that's not true. We hated this slicer from the word go. And I'll tell you why. I think for things like slicing deer sausage and that kind of stuff, this is probably fine, or summer sausage. Something like that's kind of fine. It's got a 7-inch base, 7-inch blade. However, for us, in the amount of things that we were doing, the size of things that we were doing, taking whole bellies and cutting them down for bacon, it was just a bit too small and frankly a bit too flimsy, and it was really hard in terms of cleanup when dealing with those types of meats. I'm just going to walk you through this slicer real quick. I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing on this slicer. It's just not for us. So you have this is a plastic piece, your handle, your meat goes in here. Obviously you would hold it and you would slice back and forth. One thing we didn't like about it is we didn't feel like the travel was very good. It's a little sticky on the way back. So we didn't like this action here. The other thing we didn't like about it is this piece right here doesn't actually come off. This 10 piece can, but this doesn't. I would like a little better, more cleaning options here. The big issue though is going to be this back piece. Now, this is where when you set your depth, this piece is going to move back and forth. You can't tell from the perspective on the camera, I don't think, but just right off the bat, this piece gate is not square to this piece. It's already at an angle. And then when you're pushing through, this piece is rather flimsy. So as you're moving, this thing is doing all kinds of flexing. Do not like that at all. Very uneven pieces. Kind of defeated the purpose with the slicer. I can do that by hand. From a cleaning standpoint, kind of wanted to be able to get this piece off. It's held by a screw, which you probably cannot see, but it's kind of a cheap screw, and it's basically it tried to strip out the very first time we tried to take this off. Maybe we weren't supposed to take this off. It just seemed, from a cleaning standpoint, I wanted to be able to get this piece off. The other thing about this slicer is for cleaning this blade, you've got to take this out, which is like a big screw. There's several seals in here, and then you've got the blade itself. We found when we were slicing bacon and that kind of thing, this was really difficult to get clean and actually to feel like this unit was sanitary, even though we were using our food grade cleaning wipes and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think this was the proper machine for what we were trying to do. I'm sure it has its place and it's nice. However, for us, not the right choice. And we've been kind of using this thing for several years now, and every time we use it, we kind of groan about it a little bit. So we're going to find a new home for this unit, and in the meantime, we've got a new slicer to replace this one. So that is what we really want to look at today. Wow.
It's pretty.
That's
It needs to be clean.
that's ginormous.
Nah.
I think this is too big, honey.
No, I think it'll do exactly what we need it to do. Finally.
You know how sometimes I go a little over the top with things?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is one of those times.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah?
No.
Wow.
I think this will actually finally work the way a slicer is supposed to work for what we need it to do.
Yeah, but it's huge.
Yeah, but we need the size.
Okay. So, here's your new slicer.
It's beautiful.
It's huge.
Love it.
Say hello to the Avantco SL312. This is a commercial grade, entry level slicer. It's huge. It's approximately, was it 20 by 22? Or was it 22 by 20? No, it's longer this way. 22 by 20 deep. 12-inch blade, 1/3 horsepower motor. It does run on a standard 110. 20 amp, I think, is what this needs. We have that. So little more power than your typical home appliance. This is meant for small businesses, not to be continuous use run. So it's not as robust, and it's not in the thousands of dollars, which is great. However, it has all the features, or many of the features, of the larger, more industrial, if you will, models as a commercial unit. Some of the cons to this thing right off the bat is its size and its weight. But for us, we made that trade-off. We knew this thing was going to be really big. We knew it was going to be heavy. Finding a place to put it and keep it and all that kind of thing, we'll have to figure that out. But for the value of this unit and the years that we're going to get out of it, over the top for most, yes. For us, to be honest with you, right in our wheelhouse. So some of the things about this unit that drew our eye to it. Now, I was originally going to get a smaller version of this. I do have to say a special thank you to a good friend of ours who got involved in this conversation. We were talking about getting a new slicer, and very generously and somewhat insistently came and offered to help pay for this unit as a gift to us, which we were very appreciative of, but it allowed us to go a little bit larger scale than we would have gone on our own. But here it is. Because of this size, we can get much larger, say, slabs of bacon in here. we can go up to 7 inches high, and we can go up to 9 inches wide and 11 inches long this way. So there's a lot more cutting surface we can do here. When we go to do our roast and that kind of thing, we have a full 7 inches to work with. Once you get above 7 inches, you're about halfway, you're over halfway on the blade, and the blade will want to kind of pull it up, the meat up a little bit. So 7 inches high is what they recommend. Very nice and an assisted, if you can hear it, drive system. It has a little bit of a bounce to it, gets you a nice good flow. All of this comes apart for cleaning and sanitizing. Because this is a commercial grade unit, its ability to be cleaned is first and foremost, as opposed to the limb that's just your home piece, because this has to actually pass USDA standards within a restaurant or something like that, and pass inspection. That's one of the things we loved about it. Everything comes apart so it can be cleaned, and we got a commercial grade cleaning kit to go with it. Another really super nice feature about this unit is this blade. If you'll notice this ring guard around here, again, commercial grade unit, this blade has very little actual exposure outside of where you're cutting right here. Very good protection. All these pieces come off, and then the blade comes out for more thorough cleaning. We even got a cut glove to use, cut resistance glove, for the cleaning purposes. Another really cool thing about this, speaking about that blade, is this unit. This is a sharpening unit for the blade that will mount right back here. Whenever you need the unit to be sharpened, you don't have to disassemble it, pop a couple of buttons, and it'll give you a nice grind. Off you go. And it even came with a spare belt for the drive system and a spare stone, and of course our user's manual. Funny enough, we are really going to have to read the user's manual to operate this unit. The depth dial of your cut is over here, and it will go all the way up to a full 1/2 inch. So you will be seeing us use this in future videos. As a matter of fact, we've got some bacon that we are smoking right now that we're going to use this unit to slice on. So we're going to take a moment to figure out how to use this thing while we finish out our bacon, and then when we're ready to go, we'll show you some footage of us slicing with this unit. Now again, I realize this is super over the top for most folks. That's cool. You guys can think I'm crazy for having this. That's cool too. However, to the point of the limb, for the stuff that we were doing, it just wasn't big enough, wasn't strong enough. But if you've got some smaller things you want to do, that limb would be just fine. I just don't think for us and the amount we were using it, the pains of it cleaning and not cutting square and that kind of stuff, it was just enough for us to say, we need something a little more beefy for what we're wanting to do. So hang out in a second. We'll show you us cutting some slices of our fresh smoked bacon. Well guys, there you have it, our Avantco SL312 Slicer. You know, I gotta say, I really felt like this was a bit over the top getting a commercial grade slicer of this size and scale. But man, after using this last night on over 50 pounds of fresh bacon that we had to slice up, wow, it was incredible to use this machine. Once we got to figuring out some of the nuances and whatnot, it made going through all that bacon a breeze. And the cleaning, as you can imagine with something like this, the cleaning is a bit in depth. This is commercial grade. But even with that said, cleaning this up was actually pretty intuitive. It was nice, and I really felt like I was able to get it really clean, as opposed to the limb, which no matter how much time I spent on it, I always felt like it just wasn't quite right, just because of how it was built. Again, not bashing the limb for other uses, but for us, it just wasn't the right thing. Man, this is so awesome. So glad we got this unit. Now, I got to figure out where we're going to put it. Now, guys, I know that for your typical home user, this really is over the top. But you're watching a cooking channel, which means you probably like to cook too. And something like this may be making you a little glazy in the eyes going, ooh. So, if you want something like this, you don't have to go this big. The Avantco has the SL309, the 310, and the 312. And it's not going to set you back as much as you think. If you go look at commercial grade slicers, say a 12-incher like this, that's kind of more of your mid-grade, they start about $1,000. This unit, $430 delivered. The 209, $250, and the 310 is about $280. As a matter of fact, if you're going to spend $250 for the 309, you might as well spend just a little bit more and get the 310. Now, we went with the 312 just because we wanted something that was going to last a really long time and that we could grow into. This is absolutely that unit. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed checking out this slicer, and stay tuned for more Beyond the Pit videos where we're going to talk about all kinds of things like appliances, food lore. We're even going to show you some home butchering. Until next time, keep that smoke rolling. We'll see you later.